Check, check. Alrighty. All right. Happy Sabbath, y'all. Happy Sabbath. Most High in Christ bless. I think everything's working right. So, tonight's topic is spiritual usury. Uh, spiritual usury. I think as things start to heat up, um, it seems to not. It's not ending at all. Obviously, this is a thing that we have to see this thing through the end, right? Um, the Lord set this thing on a certain timer, and the sand's almost past or gone out the hourglass, and it's never not a right time to kind of do some evaluation, right? And it's crazy because like knowing the truth and being in this for a little while, it's not a thing where I'm assuming the person that's been in this maybe double the time I have will probably make the same assessment, which is not a good one as far as the health of Israel in general. I guess, in a sense, I guess it has to be like this on some level because of the fact that nothing, I didn't imagine, I maybe years ago, I didn't imagine the Israelites would be perfect. This kind of like cardboard cutout of like this symbol of perfection. That's what it would look like before the Lord gets back. I maybe had a fleeting thought of that years ago. It just like, like a casual thought of if Israel's waking up, they would seem very formidable in the last days. And I've come to realize that maybe that is still true, that the nation is being built up to be formidable. And it may be that this is the case. Well, I think it is the case that Israel is in this position, though from the optics of it, it can be very deceiving. Even though it looks like things are not the healthiest, they aren't, which is still true to some extent. And that's kind of the thing that I think a lot of us, you never know where you find yourself at, right? Most people think that they're on the righteous side of things. Um, Rarely would a person ever say that they're wicked in the truth I'm talking about, but a lot of us are, right? Um, and it is a blessing if you're able to see it. If you're not, I don't even know why a person that can't see it wouldn't even pray to the Lord for help, because they can't see it. So that's a very dangerous position to be in, right? So let's open up with Romans 2. Um, let's open up with Romans 2. We're going to start at verse 17. What the internet is something else, man. Romans 2, verse 17. It says, "Behold, thou art called a Jew, and resteth in the law, and makest thy boast of God." Right? This is Paul's letter to the church of Rome. though, his epistles are always addressing issues within the churches, right? That's why he wrote them. It's not like things were perfect. Things ain't perfect with us nowadays, but um, certain churches got different messages based on the context of what they were dealing with in house. And this is one of the things that was prominent in the Church of Rome, though this can have some overlap between many churches, right? Because there ain't but so many sins and there's many people to go around, right? Meaning that it's not a million different sins, but there might be a million people. A million people involved in just a handful of sins, right? So they might have some overlap. But he says in verse 17, "Behold, thou art called a Jew, and resteth in the law, and make your boast of God, and knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law," right? A person's supposed to understand this as they are the spokesperson for this particular thing, particular subject, which is the law. This is what Paul's addressing, right? A person that's making their boast of God, a person that rests in the law, a person that can say that they are skilled in what they're teaching, right? Verse 19, "And art confident that thou art a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness," right? To keep that in mind, a person that is confident in what he exudes or how he walks around and carries himself, that I'm a person that carries the light, and people that are blind, I'm putting myself in a position to help people that are blind to navigate them to the light, right? This is what people say. Most people will probably say to them about themselves in the truth. Verse 20, "An instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law." Now, one of those descriptors of having a form of knowledge and a form of knowledge and the truth in the law. One of the many things a person will proclaim himself to be in this position that Paul is writing himself to, right? Writing to. Let's go to 2 Timothy 2. And Second Timothy 2 and 3. Excuse me, 2 Timothy 3, verse 5. Many brothers that pulled this on the street. This is one of them well-known scriptures, right? Verse 5 says, "Having a form of godliness," and these are the last days, these are perilous times that we're seeing. The world is turning into a place devoid of God, right? That can't be good because people without structure, without law, without understanding of how things are supposed to be are going to come up with their own sense of morality. And you're seeing this from corner to corner, not just Israelites, but this is rubbing off on Israel as well. And it's a problem that Israel can't see. A lot of brothers and sisters can't see this because they proclaim themselves to be author of a person or a person that's been groomed enough to be standing on the corner or standing in front of any individual or a mass of people telling them what the law says. This is how God tells us we're supposed to be. This is who you are. This is your history. But a lot of people fall in this category, that they have this form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. From such, the Lord says to turn away from, right? So this would be many people in this group that Paul's addressing as well in the church at Rome, right? So, you would keep this in mind, like, and I guess maybe it's a question to ask an individual. What would be I would assume that there's nobody that would leave a congregation or distance himself from another brother or sister in the truth if it wasn't but for wickedness, meaning either the individual's wicked or the congregation's wicked, right? Because you would assume that every brother and sister is looking for camaraderie, right? I understand that there might be chaos in numbers Because as the numbers grow, the personalities grow, more friction is going to be there. That makes sense. But the statement still holds true that a brother or sister wouldn't necessarily depart if things felt brotherly, if things felt lovely, if things felt like an actual true congregation following what the Most High said. So this is just my own opinion. I would assume that a person wouldn't leave a congregation unless there was wickedness. By that person's wicked, they just want distance because they want to do wicked stuff. Or the congregation's wicked. Now, this is the weird thing. Let's say a person's departing from a congregation. If a brother or sister knows that individual because they've been around them for so long, and that individual decides to leave the congregation, and you know them that they are righteous individuals, right? The person departing, deciding to leave, you know them, you've been around them, they live a righteous life, and you would consider them to be righteous up until the point that you're seeing them depart. If a person takes that position, it would be wise to then look at yourself and have some self-reflection, or look at the health of the spirit that the congregation is carrying, right? Because the righteous person wouldn't leave. If you yourself proclaim that person to be righteous, that person wouldn't leave. Wouldn't make any sense. They're departing because they see something. And if you know them to be righteous, then it would be wise to kind of put the mirror up in front of your face and start deducing maybe there's some issues here, which is very rare, again, because most people believe they have the right answer. Most people believe that they're in a right congregation. Most people believe they're in the only righteous congregation. Some brothers and sisters believe that, right? And having a form of godliness, but denying the power of it, the only way that you have power of the godly way is the way that you're living, right? Which constitutes the law, the commandments the Most High gave us. If you're denying the power thereof, you might look like something on the surface, but the things that you proclaim to be an author, not an author of, but a teacher in, you're good enough to understand it. There might be some holes in the way that you are, in you teaching these different things to individuals, but not being able to teach yourself, is a very consistent thing nowadays, which is, again, very sad, but the clock still is rolling, right? As the Lord gets closer and closer, it's wise that people start to do a lot of self-reflection. Back to Romans 2 and verse 20. An instructor of the foolish and a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. Thou therefore, which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? Thou that preachest a man should not steal, dost thou steal? Right? Hypocritical. Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery? Thou that abhorrest idols, dost thou commit sacrilege? Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonors God, or dishonors the Most High. For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written, right? So, as Israel continues to grow, and the brothers and sisters are being brought to a level of knowledge that they never had before, you would think that a lot of us would represent that a lot better. You would think that brothers and sisters would be wise as a serpent in this wicked world that you're being pulled out of, right? There's not supposed to be an overlap of you being in the truth, but you look like somebody that's, you don't look that different from somebody in the world. There's supposed to be a definitive line between you and the old you, right? The old you blended in with the world very well, and the world got along with you. And now you start to separate yourself. Now there's friction. Now the people that hung out with you are not going to hang out with you anymore, which is all praises to the Most High, because they would do nothing but bring you down. But you shouldn't have that residue of who you were in the past Because as people bring this stuff into the truth, now we look like a lot of Israelites and a lot of stuff that's going on look like a laughing stock because of the behavior in which Israel displays. And then it makes sense because we're the ones that carry the name of the Most High throughout the earth. The Lord would not, excuse me, the world would not know the Most High without it being Israel, the so-called blacks and Hispanics, not the Jewish man, because the world, the quote-unquote Jewish man has been here for a long time, as he always confesses and says out of his mouth. They let you know right off the bat, we have oral tradition, so we ain't never gone away. So we are the imposters. That's what they tell us. But interestingly enough, the world knows nothing about God of the Bible with those that are ones that's carrying the law, as they claim themselves that have the oral law. The world should know who the Most High is. But yet, if you go over to the land, there's the gayest city on earth over in Tel Aviv. So that doesn't really sound like the individuals carrying the Most High's word. But if you flip that over to us, now we're not outright doing all this other crazy stuff on the surface. But we should, as a nation, carry ourselves a lot better in not being a consistent example of other people in the world. We're supposed to have these things together. We're supposed to understand these different things. We're supposed to be able to teach it and not being condemned by the things that we're teaching for ourselves. That's for everybody, right? So we as a nation should be a lot better in representation, so they don't have something to say. Oh, look, y'all look just like the Christian church. Y'all know better than the Muslims. We should be above and beyond, like Deuteronomy 4 says. We should be above and beyond and look like the nation full of wisdom. And oftentimes we don't, because we got a lot of bad characters in the nation, be it people amongst the people, layman people, so to speak, no disrespect, or the people that are in rulership, or excuse me, leadership roles. Men give each other titles. So it's not to disrespect or juxtapose the leadership with the layman. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but nonetheless, the people that proclaim themselves to be the Romans too, the ones that teach the law, should be the ones that have their heads high and look like they're above the clouds and not down in the dirt with everybody else, right? That don't know the law or are just coming in and not understanding a lot of it. Let's go to John 13. John chapter 13, verse 1. John 13 and 1. It says, now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, no Trinity, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he was come from God and went to God, no Trinity. That's a funny thing. People be like, no homo. No Trinity is funny. Verse 4. He riseth from supper and laid aside his garments, and took a towel and girded himself. After that he poureth water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. Then cometh he to Simon Peter, and Peter saith unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Now watch this exchange, right? Verse 7. Jesus answered and said unto him, what I do thou knowest not, but thou shalt know hereafter, right? As Christ always spoken these cryptic things, but they're just genius, right? They make you, Christ will say things and they make you want to like the Proverbs 25 makes you want to seek these things out, because you know he sits on such a level of understanding. Anything that he says is just like some gem that you want to take the time in to crack, right, and figure out. What I do now thou knowest not, but thou shalt know hereafter. Verse 8, Peter saith unto him, Thou shalt never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. Right? Why did Peter say this? Because Peter thought, which would seem a normal thought, that Christ was above this action. He's the king of Israel, right? He's the literal son of the Father. These are the things that Christ shouldn't worry about. He shouldn't be doing these things because he's above, say above reproach. Yes, because he doesn't do anything reproachful. But Christ is trying to help them to understand a lesson that is always consistently lost on us, right? We'll get there in a second. But Peter's saying that because he's looking at Christ and being like, you shouldn't be doing these things. You should be doing something else, which is very odd because when you look at the Most High, the Father often sits in that position that Christ is in. But we think of the Most High as on this throne and it's just the rulership of guys pulling strings, right? He's in an all-powerful position because he doesn't have to leave because he's given his son the orders and the rules to do these things. But the Most High is often in that spot of washing our feet, right? This isn't a disrespectful thing. It's an understanding thing. The way the Most High is trying to teach us, or Christ in this example is trying to teach us these things. The Father does this exact same thing. Verse 9, Simon Peter saith unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head, right? So if Peter understands, maybe not to the depth that Christ wants him to understand right away, but he's letting him know. Christ is letting him know something else, but Peter's looking at it like, well, dang, if I can't have no part with you, wash my whole body, right? Christ is not using that as he's using his different example. He's using the understanding in a different way than the example that he's giving them. Verse 10, Jesus saith to him, He that is washed needeth not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit. And ye are clean, but not all, right? This is the John 15, right? The things that we follow Christ in makes us clean. The words that I spoke to you make you clean. Meaning that you only need, this is the thing, you only need Christ is enough, right? There's faith has to meet works. But understanding that he is the catalyst to lead us to where we need to be. Him and him alone. There's things that come along with it. But Christ is the lightning rod that leads us to the position we want to be in. Verse 11, For he knew who should betray him. Therefore said he, Ye are not all clean, right? And this is this, I'm going to revisit this, but this duality of understanding, physical to the spiritual, right? It's not, the scriptures did not say that Christ didn't wash Judas' feet. Didn't say that. He said he washed the disciples' feet, including him that was there, which is Judas, right? So all these different things teach us a valuable lesson, or it should. Verse 12, So after he had washed their feet and had taken his garments, and was set down again, he said unto them, Know ye what I have done to you? Ye call me Master and Lord, and ye say well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that ye should do as I have done unto you, right? Examples left to us from the past for us to be able to carry these things, the greater understanding of these messages, to the position that we are illuminated or elevated in understanding. And that carries over to how we understand how to deal with our nation, and that carries over to the healing of the 12 tribes. It makes perfect sense, right? From one beginning to the other. Once you fix the foundation and the message goes forth, you understand how to keep intact a healthy nation together and never have to split apart again. Not through envy, not through hatred, not through covetousness, none of that. But these principles have to be applied and have to be believed and carried by people that truly are followers and not people that's acting in a certain way, but truly are what they present themselves to be through and through, which is rare nowadays. Verse 16, verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If ye know these things, happy are ye if you do them. If you know these things, right? Knowing is to understand something. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You can't just say, I heard it. Like, for instance, you can have a person explain something perfectly. I know what Paul meant in this. But then you watch them and they don't follow none of it. That's not a person with understanding, because a dumb person would do that. Only a dumb person would have all the answers to the test and write down wrong answers. That don't make no sense. You're going to fail, especially if you claim your goal was to pass, right? That was your end goal, is to pass. You know the answers, but you don't write them down. That don't make no sense. That's a person that doesn't have understanding, even though they articulate things in a certain way. That's why you're going to know the tree by its fruits. Actions speak louder than words. The Most High is not listening to the things that's coming out of our mouth. It's the actions that we're doing that he's going to look at and be like, that's the character of the person, not the words, what they do. These are the lessons we need to carry forth, right? Let's go to Isaiah 42. Because all these things that Christ taught, which is always interesting, it wasn't when, like, for Christ to hit the scene and say, a new commandment, right? Or teaching them, the disciples, to wash the feet in John 13. For him to do that and not have a contradiction with Solomon saying there's nothing new under the sun, those things have to go together. You can't have a deviation on point and be like, well, there's a contradiction. As people do all the time, there's a contradiction. The things that Christ taught were not necessarily new concepts. It's revisiting the old through a new lens, because Israel over time has drifted away from the true meaning of the law and are only doing these things by action and not understanding the Spirit is what's going to carry you through. Isaiah 42 and verse 13. The Lord shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, yea, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. I have long time holden my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. I will make waste mountains and hills, and dry up all their herbs. And I will make the rivers islands, and I will dry up the roots. Remember, all these things are happening because of Israel, right? People forget this concept that as we see the chaos outside of our four walls, these things are happening because Israel is rising up. The Lord said, I did not make the earth if it wasn't for Israel's sake. No, it's not a person. You're supposed to be in a position to be high-minded, right? To be a bad or toxic level of pride. But it is good to understand how instrumental we are in the plan. Because if we're that instrumental in the plan, the Most High is going to treat us as we're that important to the plan. That's why we get judged first, right? That's why the Most High doesn't let time go by before he judges certain things with his nation. Verse 16, and I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them, and not forsake them, right? I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not, and I will lead them in paths that they have not known. Now, verse 1 real quick. Behold, my servant, whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit in him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. This ain't, you know how people will be like, you read the Isaiah 53, and it's clear it's talking about somebody, specific individual, and they'll be like, oh, that's talking about Israel. Like Old Testament people do all the time. They were like, oh, that's not talking about, you're trying to insert Christ in there. It's a person just say they don't have an understanding. This chapter starts off talking about that servant, right? Talking about Christ. I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. Meaning, again, this isn't, the path isn't new, right? It's not a transitioning priesthoods or shifting from sacrifice to faith. It's not a new, completely new situation, right? Like uh, Jeremiah 6, real quick. Jeremiah 6 and verse 16. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein," right? There is no commandments were the right way in the Old Testament. And then we get to the New Testament, we're done away with the commandments and the law. It's not a new way of justification, right? The um the working of a thing has changed, meaning it's this is just the surface to get to what we need to get at the bottom. Sacrifice is just a machine to carry us through until we get to Christ, which Christ is revealing how it's supposed to be all along. And you have examples littered throughout the Old Testament of what Christ was talking about. So Abraham is a father of faith, and all these different mercy steps in when David was supposed to be killed. You have all these examples of these different things supposed to be done this way, right? This is just a reiterating, because we've fallen so far and we still see the examples of it today. This is the reiterating of what we're supposed to be. These are the things that we were reminded of that's going to carry us to where we need to be at. Stop thinking about this outward thing and this carnal thing looking a specific way. Think about internally how the Most High made us and how He wanted us to operate amongst each other, and therefore how we're supposed to carry ourselves when we go out into the world, right? When we're living amongst the nations, especially in this type of situation. It's different than the kingdoms here. You got your own land, you got your own environment, you got your own property. You can do what you need to do in your area, separate from everybody else. But as the Most High has put us and dispersed us throughout the nations, you better have some level of wisdom being that close to the devil that many hours out of the day, right? So let's go to Deuteronomy 22. This is a reiterating of an old way. But again, the duality of understanding these, reading the surface and then going deeper to understand it, how we're supposed to operate, right? Deuteronomy 22 and start at verse 1. It says, "Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother." Right now, again, the laws speak many different things, right? This is what we talk about. A man can't write this. When we're looking at certain concepts, and people will be like, the law is stupid, or the law needs to be updated. These things that the Lord has given to Moses to write down is so futuristic that we can never catch up to it, right? This is an everlasting, universal thing because it's never going to get old. The second it gets old to us, not the law, but the people think the law is old, is when chaos starts. So again, this is the reason why the world looks the way it does, because they don't think the laws need to be updated. Because we can eat whatever we want. We can sleep with whoever we want. We can marry whoever we want. You can be a homosexual. That's when the chaos starts. That's when the Most High's plan starts to get interrupted and hindered. When the growth is not there, multiply, be fruitful and multiply is not there no more. You can steal, you can covet, murder pops up. Everything starts to happen from disobeying the Most High's laws. Once the laws are in place, it runs like a well-oiled machine, because that's the way we were supposed to be designed to operate this way. Operating the other ways, operating like the nations that don't have a God, right? Which leads to chaos in every turn. So thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them, and shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother. Now, you are not supposed to turn a blind eye to your brother's livelihood, his lack or his want of something, you are not allowed to do that, right? Taking care of a brother or sister is supposed to be a top priority. This doesn't sound very new, as Christ was talking about. It's not to contradict Christ, not a contradiction. It's just something that we're being, it's like a refresher course, right? But we've been so far away from these things. That's why Christ, when he speaks something, sound like it was new, but he still refer back to the old. I tell you, right, that a man's not supposed to commit adultery. But if you look upon a maid with lust, you commit adultery in your heart. Is this new? Well, Job said something like this, to keep a covenant with your eyes, right? I may not look upon another woman unless another man grind upon my wife. So again, these concepts are being reiterated because we've been so far away from it. Verse 2, and if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know him not, then thou shalt bring it unto thine own house, and it shall be well with thee. It shall be with thee until thy brother seek after it, and thou shalt restore it to him again. Right? Now, this is talking about animals. But again, this is just very surface level if a person doesn't dig deeper, right? Because the Most High's words are double in wisdom. Verse 3. In verse 2, even if you don't know him, right? It's a brother or sister that loses something. It's your responsibility. Get it, keep it until he returns, until he comes or realizes that it's gone, until he comes to the knowledge that he's lost something. Verse 3. In like manner shalt thou do with his ass, and shalt thou do with his raiment, and all lost thing of thy brothers which he have lost, and thou hast found, shalt thou do likewise. Thou mayest not hide thyself. I'd argue the most evil phrase uttered in the entire Bible, there might be some contenders, but I'd argue that the number one most evil thing ever uttered in the Bible was, am I my brother's keeper? Because it kind of is the amalgamation of everything from beginning to end. It makes up how devoid a person can utter that and be so devoid of a spirit, which makes sense that Cain utters it, right? The beginning of wickedness. It makes sense because as the Lord fast forward, right? Mark 12, hang these two on the law. And you notice not doing this is a direct violation of not honoring the Most High or loving the Most High with all your heart. So it breaks both of them. And you obviously are breaking not loving your neighbor, right? These things are laying out surface things, animals. He's lost it. Just pick it up, right? It can do you no harm. Just have some compassion. But understanding even spiritual level, this ass represents a sacrifice, right? Even with the raiment is more important. And that's kind of what I'm targeting or focusing on. Same thing, but interesting, the raiment, right? Because raiment is a covering, right? Let's go to Revelation 16. Revelation 16 in verse 15. It says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed, talking about Christ, blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, or raiment, same thing, lest he walk naked and they see his shame, right? Keep your garments, the thing that's supposed to cover you, unless somebody sees your nakedness. We'll get there in a second for those that may not understand. Let's go to Matthew 22. Matthew 22. This is the parable about the kingdom, right? The kingdom of heaven being compared to a wedding or wedding feast. Matthew 22 and 1, we'll jump down. It says, And Jesus answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said, The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. Right? We're doing this now, right? The bidding of the calling to the wedding is coming. So the bridegroom can meet his virgin bride, right? Christ to the nation of Israel, 2 Corinthians 11. The bridegroom is in John 3. John Baptist talked about it with Christ, right? So many other places too, but this is a union coming together. The two become one, right? The woman is absorbed into the man. They become one flesh. That's what we want to be with Christ. We don't want to be separate because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we're not wise enough to lead our own steps. We need the Lord to do that. That's what this is talking about, right? Comparing the kingdom of heaven to a wedding feast. People being called and some refuse to come. Verse 9. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage. As we updated or a modern thing of this, people don't understand as we go to camp, right? It's the same thing as telling people. We're telling people their wickedness, right? Isaiah 57, excuse me, Isaiah 50, I'm a blank. Isaiah 50, excuse me, Isaiah 58. Cry aloud, right? And spare not. When we go out to the street, that's what we're supposed to do. We're telling people their wickedness so they can see it, clean it, and come in, right? We're not calling wicked people to the wedding feast to remain wicked. They're supposed to clean themselves up, see the error because they haven't seen it before. That light is being presented to them as if they were always in darkness, right? And they were. But as you shine the light on them, right? If you did it on clothing, you can see the spots, you can see the holes in the shirt, you can see the blemishes. If a person's in darkness, they just moving around in darkness, they can't see anything, right? When the law is shined to them and the light shows, then they see the error of their ways. They can see the mirror righteousness against them, and they see where they need to match themselves to the image that the Lord has shown us, right? The mirror of Christ shows us how filthy it is. So we're bidding them to the marriage we go to camp. All amongst our people and amongst the madness, going in between restaurants, eating unclean food, in fornication, on drugs, whatever it may be, they're being bid to the marriage to come in to be healed by Christ or to partake in the marriage, right? Verse 10. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good. And the wedding was furnished with guests. And the king came in to see this guest. He saw there a man which had on, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment, right? There was somebody at the feast that didn't have what he was supposed to have on, the appropriate attire. Everybody's just black tie event, right? Person shows up in flip flops and shorts. Comfortable, but a violation of how you're supposed to show up. The same way we talk about it. It's interesting that people will talk about how it's not important. Women wearing pants, men in dresses. Though people don't have a problem with the women in pants, though, but oh no, men can't wear dresses. I don't know why if you don't agree with Deuteronomy 22 and 5, but that's what people say, right? Showing you how important that law still is, the same way the Lord tells you to show up the right way, dress the right way to the feast. So there was somebody in the crowd that we can see doesn't have his garment on. Everybody looks at him and was like, he's the one drawing the attention. Verse 12, and he saith unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, bind him hand and foot. Take him away and cast him into outer darkness, out from the light, right? There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, because inside the light, you're safe. That's what the law is. That's how you live forever. In the darkness, right, is equivalent to sin. Sin brings death. Verse 14, for many are called, but few are chosen. Right now, why? For those that don't understand, why would he get killed for not having the garment on? Let's go to Exodus 32. This is what it means. Exodus 32. One second. I'm trying to figure out where to start here. I don't want to go too high. Exodus 32. We'll just jump down. Exodus 32 and verse 15. And Moses turned and went down from the mount, and the two tables of the testimony were in his hand. The tables were written on both their sides, on the one side and the other side they were written. So Moses goes up to the mount, comes back with the commandments, right? And the tables were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, graven upon tables. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moses, there is a noise of war in the camp, because they were supposed to wait. As Moses goes up to the mount, obviously they're supposed to wait, right? Long suffering, some patience. It wasn't even that long. Verse 18. And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear, meaning they're sounding like very joyful thing happening, but it was singing around amongst wickedness. And it came to pass as soon as he came nigh unto the camp that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hand and brake them beneath the mount. And he took the calf which they had made and burnt it in the fire, and ground it into powder, and strawed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel drink it. Because his brother Aaron was the ringleader, essentially, to take their earrings off and make these golden calves to make other gods, reverencing back what they had been experienced in Egypt, because they just left, right? This is the point. Verse 24. And I said unto them, whosoever have any gold, let them break it off. This is when Aaron had told the people. So they gave it me. Then I cast it into the fire. And there, and there came out this calf. Verse 25. And when Moses saw that the people were naked, right? Nakedness just kind of gives you an understanding of Genesis. Nakedness, not naked, literally, physically. There's a dual meaning. A person that doesn't have a clothing or a garment is literally naked. Spiritually, if you don't have a garment, which is, I'll show you in a second, you are considered to be naked. Verse 25, when Moses saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies, right? Meaning, if you are in the midst of sin, you don't have a covering, right? That's what that means. Sin equals nakedness. You are bare. You are open. It's a shameful thing to be naked amongst people. You're supposed to be covered, right? Sirach 23. Sirach 27. Sirach 27 and verse 8. If thou followest righteousness, meaning we know Deuteronomy 6 and 25 is the laws. Again, not that complicated. There's always going to be righteousness of laws. You don't keep the law, you're not righteous. If thou follow righteousness, thou shalt obtain her, and put her on as a glorious long robe, right? Like a covering. Wisdom comes with these things. Knowledge comes with these things. Getting under the covering of the Lord comes with these things. One more. Numbers 19. Well, two more. Numbers 19. And we'll go back to Deuteronomy 22 in a second to reiterate a point. Numbers 19, show you something else in the law. Verse 14. It says, "This is the law when a man dieth in a tent. All that come into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days." Right? That's what the judgment was. Person that's among somebody that died, not that you're supposed to hang out around dead bodies, but if something passed away or something, ritually unclean. Even if you walked into the tent, you didn't touch them, right? You're still unclean. Verse 15 is the point. "In every open vessel which have no covering, bound upon it is unclean." And why did I mention that? If a vessel's inside that tent when somebody's dead, the vessel itself becomes unclean because it doesn't have a covering over it. So what's inside of it can be poison, not poison literally, but I stick to the word unclean. Whatever the contents is in that is an unclean thing, right? That vessel has no covering, right? 2 Timothy 2. Spiritual usury, stick with me. We'll get there. 2 Timothy 2. Verse 20. "But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, vessels, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor," right? A representation of things that are in the house, things that are in the house of God that have different value systems. We know wood and basic earthen vessels are not as valuable as gold or silver, right? Most I use these examples all the time. Isaiah 1. Many examples about pulling dross out of valuable minerals. Different things the Most High shows to illustrate the point. Verse 21, "If a man therefore purge himself from these," right, meaning the things that he's making him impure, wickedness, whatever it is, sin, "he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work," meaning that vessel will be a valuable vessel, one, and that vessel will have a covering, right? If it doesn't have a covering, it becomes unclean. So all these things kind of point to us understanding these things that we're looking at. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 22. These things that we're looking at presented by in the law is looking at the comparison between animal to the raiment, right? Take one for sacrifice, take one for raiment, meaning righteousness or clothing, same thing. I'm going to read this again. Deuteronomy 22 in verse, I'm going to start at verse 2. "And if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know him not, then thou shalt bring it unto thine own house, and it shall be with thee until thy brother seek after it." Now think about this spiritually, right? "And thou shalt restore it to him again when your brother comes looking for it. In like manner shalt thou do with his ass, and so shalt thou do with his raiment, and with all lost thing of thy brothers which he have lost. And thou hast found, shalt thou do likewise. Thou mayest not hide thyself." Now, in the truth, you come to the understanding of this, right? This is not it's not a light thing that you've come to the knowledge that the Most High rained down the wisdom upon you, right? Oftentimes, and I've done it too, we oftentimes have found ourselves in a position of it can be ungrateful because you're not consistently understanding, treating it as important. It's not like you're doing it, but you like the routine becomes mundane, right? And you don't think about things consistently and how important they are all the time. But the truth is invaluable, right? So when you come to understand this, we're supposed to understand if we have something of our brethren and he doesn't have it, he doesn't realize it's gone, right? That's physically. Think about this spiritually. As we've come back to understanding, we've gotten our covering back, right? Our raiment, we've got it. If I find that of my brother, I'm supposed to hold this near and dear, take it to my house, hold it, cherish it until he gets back or he has the inkling to go looking for this thing, right? To go searching for it. When he comes back, I'm supposed to give him the raiment. I'm supposed to cover him. I'm supposed to present this truth to him so he can be restored, so he can have his sacrifice, so he can have his covering. We know that that covering is the righteousness of the Most High, which is the laws. That's what we're supposed to restore to the brother or sister, whoever comes in that capacity, right? So the mindset is supposed to be a generous, supposed to be a generous thing. It's not supposed to be in a position where we gatekeep or are giving this out in order to get something back. And oftentimes, this is the case with a lot of brothers and sisters. They don't, especially brothers that be in leadership, because they're in the position of holding leverage. They're the ones that's supposed to be the authors of this, right? They confess themselves, they rest in the law, they call themselves a Jew. They take it upon themselves to be the guide of the blind, right? But instead of looking at it from the capacity of like, this is supposed to be something that I'm supposed to do, they're not looking at it in that capacity. They're looking at it like, I'm giving you this, you owe me something, right? That's not how we're supposed to think. Let's get 1 Corinthians 9. As Paul said it best and pretty plain, right? This is how we're supposed to think about this. 1 Corinthians 9 in verse 16. It says, for though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of. For necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel, right? This is your vocation. This is your job. This is your duty. It's not pat me on the back because I helped you find the truth. That's not the mindset you're supposed to have. You restore that unto your brother because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what the Most High told you to do. He didn't tell you to turn a blind eye to it. You see his ox or something he needs. I'm not worrying about it. I'll get it when I feel like it. You are commanded to do it, or you're held responsible. That's why I mentioned about this phrase uttering from Cain, am I my brother's keeper? Like a rhetorical, blasphemous statement. Who do I care? He's just over there. I don't care. After you kill him. As if to think in your mind, I executed my brother, but you asking me what happened to him. Of course I'm being deceptive, but at the end of the day, in his mind, think about that. In Cain's mind, who cares? Am I my brother's keeper? Am I supposed to care? Am I supposed to know where he's at? Am I supposed to worry about his well-being? Yeah. That's why it's so on a visceral level it's so evil that him to utter a statement like that. Because that's our whole point of camaraderie, of brotherhood, of law, of understanding. We're supposed to come together and multiply. How do you do that without strong relationships? You're doing it today, but broken families are not strong relationships, but chaos ensues from that. Woe unto me if I preach not the gospel. For if I do this willingly, I have a reward. Meaning, if I'm doing this on my own volition, if I'm doing this because I want to do it, I have a reward. Meaning, the reward I get is from the admiration or adulation from the world, from the crowd. These are the things they give me, right? If I'm supposed to do this because I'm supposed to do it, I'm not supposed to get a reward. That don't make any sense. So if I do this willingly, I have a reward. Not willingly meaning I'm doing it against my will. It just means if it's about me, I'm looking for a reward. But if against my will, not meaning I'm doing it because I don't want to. I know that when I'm doing it, it's because I was called to do it. A dispensation of the gospel was committed unto me, meaning I'm being cherished, given this thing to cherish and to hold. The dispensation of the gospel, me being a part of this cog in the machine, pushing this truth forward. Verse 18, what is my reward then? Meaning I'm doing it against my will, not meaning I hate doing it, but I'm called to do this. What then is my reward for doing this? Verily, that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Christ without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel. Now, here's where we get to the point, right? Think about you. Let's get Deuteronomy 23. Let's get the law real quick. Think about usury, right? 23. Deuteronomy 23 and verse 19. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother. For those that don't know, usury is what the Jewish man, it's like his it's like his natural thing, right? Like you have like natural oils on your skin. It's natural for you to be able to see, natural for you to be able to move. That's in his fiber and his being. It's natural for the Jewish man to charge you exorbitant amounts of interest. That's what usury is. I give you 20, I expect 75 back, right? That's usury. The Lord commands us not to do it to each other. So I don't have a problem with usury. It's just I have a problem with them doing it to us because the Most High. Now that sounds crazy, but because the Most High told us this way. And this is again the point of you sound like a hypocrite. We're just following what the Lord says, right? We're not supposed to eat anything that dieth of itself. We can sell it to somebody else. That in itself should show you that Israel is distinct in more ways than we can comprehend from the other nations. Specifically, you have this diet. There's some deviations from you and the other people. There's something even on a molecular level somehow that we don't understand why the Most High is operating this way with us and tells us not to do this. We might not need to understand it, but we serve the Lord through faith. He says it, we comprehend it, we follow it, right? Verse 19, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to, in the land whither thou goest to possess it. Now again, real quick, a person might look at that or read that and say, well, you can't do it to each other, but you can do it to them. Isn't that what they're doing? Yeah. The problem is that it's wrong by God. A person can say whatever they want. I didn't write it. People just be like, oh, yeah, that seems like very hypocritical that you can do it to somebody else and they can't do it to you. I didn't write it. Take it up with the Lord. Got nothing to do with me. That's what the Lord says. The same way we're supposed to rule the earth. The nations are not. They're ruling it, and they say, well, we want our people in power. Well, it makes sense. Because you're a nationalist, right? You're for your nation. Makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, the Lord says, you doing that causes the earth to be out of order. Because you don't have or possess the characteristics or the nature to rule this creation because it was designed for these people. So it would make sense that we're supposed to rule over it, right? So, usury. You're not supposed to lend somebody something and expect something back, right? Let's go to John 9. This is often what happens in the truth. And as Deuteronomy 22 we read, you returning something or giving something to somebody is supposed to be it's supposed to be your pleasure to do this, to present a brother or a sister with something they might have lost, or they're coming to the acknowledgement of, or not knowing that they need to be restored to something. You're supposed to do that out of your own good nature and commandment, because the Most High told us to do that. You're not supposed to lend something to somebody, right? And expect something. I'm expecting something unearned in return, right? 20 for 20 is fine. That makes sense. The Lord tells you to do that. If you're going to lend it, you're supposed to pay it back. But even you see something like a wrench in the idea, the concept of it, of the year Jubilee. After 7 years, a person goes free even if they haven't, worked off their debt. It's all in good faith and good graces, but the Most High is the one that's given the blessings. So if you haven't been restored after 7 years, the Most High will fix it. But that's to keep camaraderie and us tight between each other. I'm not supposed to look at you and be like, I need this and give me X amount for this. I'm giving you this. I'm lending. Mind you, somebody lending something to somebody. They don't have it. And then since they don't have it, you're lending I would think, in the thought process to help them. But then as you're giving them something, I know I'm going to have you on the hook for something, which keeps you in debt, right? Just like if the Lord didn't have the year of Jubilees, I can keep lending you or upfront give you something huge. In my mind, I'm like, you'll never be able to pay that back. Esau does this a lot to the other nations. He did it to China. They use this system in Africa, all over the world. They have these the Fed or the IMF, or they'll have the central banking system. They run this throughout the earth, right? Everything's usury with them. They'll go over, make a deal with them, knowing that they can't pay them back. When they got a default on some type of loan they gave them because they wanted to build infrastructure, help their people. When they know they can't pay it back, that's okay. We'll just take your assets and we'll put you in debt. If you can pay it off, we'll give you assets back. But now you owe us $2 billion. Oh, you can't pay? Look at Haiti, right? So you see all these different things happen. That's how he moves throughout the earth. And you see what kind of chaos this caused. Because I'm lending it to you to get you on in debt to me. It's to keep you in this cycle to be a slave, not to work till Jubilee and get you off. John chapter 9. Mind you, this thought process happens in the truth as well. Brothers are not given, brothers and sisters, truth in order to free them. They want something unearned in return. John 9 in verse 13. They brought to the Pharisees him that aforetime was blind. One second. They brought to the Pharisees him that aforetime was blind. And it was the Sabbath day when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. One second, y'all. And it was the Sabbath day when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. Then again the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. He said unto them, He put clay upon my eyes, and I washed, and I do see. Now this is the man that was born blind, right? Many of y'all might know this story. The Pharisees are asking him, because they're always trying to condemn Christ, how did you get this way? Right? They don't believe his story, so they call his parents in, right? Verse 16, therefore says some of the Pharisees, this man is not of God, meaning Christ, because he keepeth not the Sabbath day. A lie. Others said, how can a man that is a sinner do such miracles? And there was a division among them. Let's jump down a bit. Verse 20, they called his parents in, right? His parents answered them and said, in verse 19, and they asked them, saying, is this your son, who ye say was born blind? How then doth he now see? His parents answered them and said, we know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But by what means he now seeth, we know not. Or who hath opened his eyes, we know not. He is of age. Ask him. He shall speak for himself. Because they saying he lying. Because they want Christ to be a liar. Verse 22. These words spake his parents. Meaning, ask him, instead of us telling you again. These words spake his parents because they feared the Jews, for the Jews had agreed already that if any man did confess that he was Christ, he should be put out of the synagogue, right? Now, mind you, the Pharisees are the ones supposed to be distributing the law. They're the ones that call themselves Jews. They're the ones that rest in it. They're the ones that consider themselves the people or the guide of the blind. But they didn't give you the truth for you to have the truth. They wanted blind loyalty in return. They wanted you to protect the doctrine in return. They wanted you to keep and don't leave from the camp. They wanted your undivided devotion. They didn't give it to you for you to be set free, like Christ says. They want you to be indebted to them. I'm lending you something, or I'm giving you something, but I'm going to expect something exorbitant in return. That you can't even earn that, because all that loyalty and praise is supposed to go to the Father. But that's what the Pharisees wanted. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about seeing a brother or sister be healed. They don't care about that. Give me what you owe me, what you don't. Is your loyalty. Don't break away, or else I'll kick you out of here. This is how a lot of brothers work today. They care more about the camp. They care more about undivided loyalty. They care about protecting the doctrine, whatever it may be, or you're against me, right? Verse 23. Therefore said his parents, he is of age, ask him. Then again called they the man that was blind and said unto him, give God the praise. We know that this man is a sinner. He answered and said, whether he be a sinner or no, I know not. One thing I know, that whereas I was blind, now I see. Then said they to him again, what did he to thee? How opened he thine eyes? He answered them, I have told you already, and ye did not hear. Wherefore would ye hear it again? Will ye also be his disciples? Then they reviled him, and said, thou art his disciple, but we are Moses' disciple. That division. As if Moses wasn't a follower of Christ. As if Moses didn't understand what he was doing. Right? Verse 29, we know that God spake unto Moses, as for this fellow, we know not from whence he is. And this is the type of spirit you see moving through our congregations. And this is, again, it's sad. Because the mindset of brothers and sisters, you're supposed to come out of this wickedness and be able to find solace in the truth. You're supposed to be able to, I thank God I got through the gauntlet of that. And the Lord brought me into this. But then when you talk to brothers and you see how brothers move, it's not the case. They pull you out of that chaos to bring you into some other one with the draping over of this is righteous. This can cause a person to crack. Because if you can escape that and to come into the truth and to find some brothers and sisters in this worse off than you did in the world, that's why people's mindsets be the same way. Now, again, it's not a reason to cling back to the world or reach back to the world. It just can be detrimental. That's why the Lord tells you, if you offend one of these little ones, you might as well hang yourself, because it's a very serious matter, right? Let's go to Luke 11. Just about done. Luke 11, verse 45. Then answered one of the lawyers and said unto him, Master, thus saying, thou reproachest us also, because he was already undressing the Pharisees, right? Verse 46, and he said, woe unto you also, ye lawyers, for ye lade men with burdens grievous to be borne, and ye yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers, making it hard for them and wanting them to do things that they wouldn't do, right? But they make sure that they stay in the feast houses amongst all the other people, being seen. That's what they like. Verse 47, woe unto you, for ye build the sepulchres of the prophets, and your fathers killed them, which is crazy work. You physically do these things to honor those that passed, but not knowing that if we bring those killers that killed the righteous ones back then up until right now, you'd be just like them. We couldn't tell y'all apart. The things that you say, the things that you do, you just like them in the past. You talking about that's wicked how they did Moses. That's crazy how they talk to Christ like that. You the same one. You be the same one in modernity. You bring them back up to this time, you be them. You guys will be friends. The same reason why we talk about all the time is like you on the street and being like, how did Christ be the most righteous person ever and they kill him? It don't make no sense. It's the same thing with the Malcolm X and the Martin Luther Kings. They hated them at the time, and now they talk about how great they were. Walked around, he's such a great person. Let's dedicate a month to him. Y'all white people would have hanged him on the tree if he was brought up to this time again. Because you just mimic yourself as Martin Luther King or Moses. Martin Luther King, not so much all the time, but Malcolm X was kind of some other stuff too. But the mindset of for your people, right? To an extent. It's a caveat there, of course. But you bring them up and you speak the same way they did today, they will hang you again while they bypass you and look to celebrate Martin Luther King. It's the same mentality, right? These are the last days. This is the chaos that we are in. Israel is supposed to be a better representation or a better product in front of everybody else to the world. Because when we had these conversations and we look and people see us and they say, y'all arguing just like what's his name? What's his name running around on his wife? What's his name doing X, Y, and Z? I ain't saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying nobody is. We're supposed to strive to be. We're supposed to keep the law. But there's got to be a point in time where brothers and sisters got to start doing a little bit more reflection and looking at these things in the past. They're written for our learning to change what we see in the present. It's so rare because people's mindsets are just like them. It's like we picked up that spirit of hatred that Saul had for David, right? We picked up that envy and jealousy that they all elders had for Moses in the wilderness. We picked up that hatred that they had for Christ. All that stuff is prominent in us today. Division of the congregation, somebody else is splitting, somebody else is leaving, chaos is happening. Now I get it's not going to be perfect. I'm not saying it's supposed to be. But there's some point in time, at least for the ones that maybe want to change, that have the mentality to be like, okay, I got to do better. I have to do better. Right? I'm going to end it there, y'all. Lord's will next week. Happy Sabbath, y'all. Most High in Christ bless. I hope may help somebody, right? So Lord's will pick back up next week. All praise to the Most High. Y'all keep praying for each other. Remember in Samuel, he talks about if you don't pray for the people, it's like sin, right? So make sure you're doing it for the brothers and sisters, those that are struggling, those that are sick. Keep prayers up for them. The Most High consistently shows up and shows out for this nation, right? Shalom, y'all. Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath, y'all.